Carry on, and Mark's got to leave in a few minutes. I just wanted to ask his take on Tommy Robinson and his Hearts of Oak party. Can he be held accountable for the missing donation money, his broken promises of various documentaries, etc., and his shattered credibility? What do we say to his hardline followers and Israel supporters?
Well, Tommy Robinson, first start, is a complete chicken. He is an absolute coward because he's on social media every day releasing little snippets, little voice snippets about me, name dropping me, slagging me off, telling people lies about me, like I don't have a family, I don't have a daughter, that I'm some kind of kissless virgin who needs to go out and reproduce. Well, if I deserve all those mentions, Tommy, why don't you have the guts to debate me? You don't have the guts to debate me because your arguments are completely baseless, completely flawed, full of holes, and you are a grifter. That's my message for you, Tommy. If you've got balls, which I don't think you do, I think you're a coward, then debate me. We can do it on a neutral channel, set aside a couple of hours, and we can talk about the real problems that affect Britain. But he won't do that. He isn't going to debate me because he's on the run. And what's he on the run with? Well, people's money. Where's the money for the rape of Britain gone? What happened to the £2 million he raised when he was initially arrested for going outside court and filming when he was told he couldn't do it? Where did all that money go? I believe he raised, this is an allegation, it's been alleged he raised over 700,000 last year. Well, what happened to all that money? What happened to the Patriots Union? When we said we were setting up Patriotic Alternative, him and his, at the time, little lapdog, Danny Tommo, said they were setting up the Patriots Union, and the Patriots Union was going to do everything Patriotic Alternative was going to do, but much bigger and much better. And they raised all this money for a website, and the money disappeared. It disappeared. Well, there's now the money for the rape of Britain. There's the £2 million in the year he was initially arrested for filming outside court. There's the alleged £700,000 from last year. He's living in this giant mansion. He's walking around in £3.5 grand shoes. He's wearing designer T-shirts and jeans. There's all the allegations about other abuses, and money's going, or money's being raised for things like websites and organizations that just are announced, then disappear. Then all of a sudden, just mere weeks after he announces the Patriots Union, there's this Heart of Oak. Heart of Oak, what's this? What's this? Oh, well, now he's doing something with Sargon. Is it a political party? Is it a free speech movement? Because there's been other things like this before, haven't there? Remember when everyone was invested in the Football Lads Alliance? Now, that wasn't Tommy Robinson, but it was another one of these things that popped up, and there was merchandise and people donating money, and it all just disappeared. And aren't these patriots sick of this? Aren't these nationalists sick of this? Aren't his followers feeling absolutely drained? Because we've had the EDL, we've had Pegida, we've had TR News, we've had the Patriots Union, which is obviously the most short-lived. We've had him standing for election. Now, I know when he stood for election, he raised all that money, but he only put out an A5 leaflet. What? What? An A5 leaflet? I've still got the figures around somewhere for how much leaflets cost for a European-wide constituency, because remember, I was in charge of producing leaflets for European-wide constituencies when I was in the British National Party. Now, I think a leaflet, an A4 leaflet to cover the Northwest constituency for Tommy Robinson would have cost probably about 30 grand. Well, an A5 would have cost about 16 grand. Are you telling me that he didn't have the 14 grand extra to fight a proper campaign after he raised all that money? What happened to the bus? They were raising a battle bus. Can everyone remember that impassioned video where he walked around saying the thing that was going to take TR News to the next level was this fully kitted out bus that he needed, and it was going to have state-of-the-art recording equipment, it was going to have beds in it, it was going to have a studio, so he could travel around the country and do all this important work. Where's this bus? People donated money to this bus, you know, and all of these things are just grifts, aren't they? I mean, it's like saying, It's not like saying, God, I don't even have an analogy for this. It's just he constantly asks for money for things that either don't happen or flop, or he mothballs them. There's always front companies. There's always things going on at company's house. Secret Sources, Dion Moller, she did this amazing expose of all these front companies he's been involved in. All of these companies which then get mothballed and rolled up and no one gets to see the accounts. And there's never any accountability, is there, for any of it? Never for any of it. There was the Day for Freedom. That all fizzled out. What happened with all the money that was raised there? What happened to all the donations that were taken for that? Everything he does requires huge amounts of money, and either things don't happen, they're mothballed very quickly, or he tries to erase them from history. Or if he does do them, like when he stood for election, he does it in a completely half-hearted way. So the money isn't really used for what it's meant to be used for, isn't spent as it should have been. And then you have things like he constantly needs money for court cases, doesn't he? Because he has to say things about people. For example, when those kids had a scuffle on the field and one kid bundled the other kid over and poured water on his head. Okay, it wasn't very nice, but how many kids have had a panda pop thrown at them, or water poured over them in the lunch hall, or a chip chucked at them when they're walking across the street by another kid who was eating a bag of chips? The point is, it's not front page news. The only reason that was front page news because it was a white kid doing it to a so-called refugee. Now, that was my point, that people blew it out of proportion. Tommy had to report that this kid was actually doing something that he wasn't. So now Tommy's on trial for... he's not on trial, he's been taken to court for defamation. Now, essentially, that court case could cost Tommy and his supporters another 150, 200 grand. Well, that's coming out of decent people's pockets, isn't it? Just because he had to say something stupid about a kid without checking out whether it was true or not. I mean, he's in court for other things like that. There's always troubles. This latest thing at Centre Parks. Now, I'm not doubting his story. I'm certainly not saying his kid wasn't touched by this man. But what I am saying is, wouldn't it have been better if his child had been touched by this man, if he'd have just picked up his phone like he usually does, filmed the man who allegedly touched his daughter, and called the police and presented the evidence to the police? Because Centre Parks is full of CCTV. Wouldn't that have been a better tactic? But instead he ends up scuffling with him. Now he's in court again. And it's constant, isn't it? I need money for this. I need money for that. We've got this idea. We're going to do this. And now there's a new party. But is it a party, or is it a group? Is it a pressure group? Is it a civil rights movement? He's got Sargon involved, so we know it's going to flop, because that guy's like the kiss of death, isn't he? He's the grim reaper of political movements. You know, he killed Gamergate. He killed UKIP. What's he going to kill next? Probably Hearts of Oak. What does the name Hearts of Oak mean? Why did they pick that name? I don't know. It all just sounds to me like another plan to raise huge amounts of money from people who have already been milked to death. There's allegations that the Middle East Forum, which is a Zionist group in America, basically paid for Tommy's court costs the first time round. So the allegation is, and this is just an allegation, I'm not saying it happened, the allegation is that he got double bubble, that he raised money off his members, or not his members, his supporters, but then the Middle East Forum paid for the court costs in the background anyway. That's the allegation that's going around. So I don't know how anyone can trust this guy. Number one, he's a coward. He won't actually talk to people who want to talk about demographics. He's a coward because he talks about me all the time on his Telegram group, but daren't actually talk to me live on a stream. So he's not good value for money, yet he's asking for more money than anyone else has ever asked for in the history of the nationalist movement in the UK. He wants more money. He wants more money per year for himself than the BNP used to take for an entire functioning political party. And that's how you know you're getting bad value for money. Because when the BNP took 2 million off its members, it got MEPs elected, it got members of the GLA elected, it got councillors elected, it formed communities, it had 14,500 members, it had a functioning branch structure, so people all over the country could get involved and do things. And this fella wants £2 million for himself, so he can what? Not travel around in the bus that he didn't end up buying, even though he took donations for. It's all absolutely sickening. And the thing that upsets me the most about this, and it is actually quite upsetting, is you've got decent working class people who are digging deep, who are giving their last 20 quid every month when they can ill afford it because they think this man is their savior. They think this man is actually going to do something for them. They think this man actually cares for them. Because when it comes down to it, all he cares about is Israel. And when push came to shove, and he had to make a documentary, he had to do something with the money, where did he want the money to go? Well, he wanted the money to go to Shalom, not to the rape of Britain. English girls have been sexually abused, raped, trafficked, drugged, some even murdered. And he doesn't really want to make the documentary about that. He wants to make the documentary about one shady Israeli who clearly had severe mental problems, had no evidence to back up his claims, but Tommy wants to put those claims front and center. That tells you everything you need to know about him. Oh, and the fact that, as I said, and Tommy, if you ever listen to this, you not debating me makes you a coward. It really does. And everyone who's donating to you, all the people who are putting their trust in you, you are letting them down because you're not talking about the big issue of the day, which is demographics. Don't trust a man who is in the pay of people who ultimately want those of European descent gone, because the results are not going to be what we want them to be. He is never, ever going to end up achieving anything that puts us first, because ultimately the people putting the food on the table or the people pulling his strings never want to put us first. They want Israel first.